An old scholar in ancient Alexandria spent 40 years collecting over 10,000 rare leather manuscripts from every corner of the known world. Kings offered him gold for his library, merchants offered ships, and young scholars traveled across oceans just to stand inside his reading room for one afternoon. But late one evening, an angry mob ignited a fire near the library gates. As smoke filled the halls and panic broke out, the old scholar didn't grab his most expensive gold-bound manuscript. He didn't run to save his lifetime of achievements. He calmly walked over to a small wooden table near the back window, picked up a plain, unadorned stoneware cup filled with fresh spring water, handed it to a terrified young servant boy standing in the corner, and guided him safely out the side door into the dark night. 40 years later, when the great library had burned to ash and all the gold-bound manuscripts were forgotten, that young boy, now an old man governing a province, didn't remember the thousands of famous books or the gold treasures. He remembered only one thing: the absolute, calm, unshakable poise of a man who cared more about human dignity in the middle of chaos than saving his own legacy. Why does human memory completely erase thousands of loud, impressive, and arrogant people, yet retain a lifelong, haunting obsession with the person who possessed one rare, quiet behavior? What is this singular psychological trait that makes a human being permanently unforgettable to everyone they cross paths with? And how did the ancient Stoic masters cultivate this rare quality to command absolute respect, fascination, and loyalty without ever raising their voice or asking for attention? In a modern world obsessed with noise, self-promotion, and constant posturing, almost everyone is playing the exact same exhausting game. People talk loudly to prove they are intelligent. They wear expensive clothes to prove they are wealthy. They react with anger to prove they are strong. They flood social media with highlights of their lives to prove they are happy. They spend every waking hour screaming into the void. Look at me, validate me, tell me that I matter. Because everyone is performing, society has become completely desensitized to performance. Loud self-promotion has become cheap background noise. When you encounter someone who is loudly demanding attention, your brain immediately categorizes them as common, predictable, and insecure. You know their playbook before they even speak a word. You know that behind their loud exterior lies a desperate need for external approval. And then, once in a blue moon, you meet someone completely different. You meet a person who doesn't compete for the room. You meet a person who doesn't interrupt others to tell their own stories. You meet a person who doesn't get defensive when criticized, doesn't boast when successful, and doesn't panic when crisis strikes. They carry a deep, quiet, unshakable self-possession that radiates from their eyes, their posture, and their absolute refusal to be shaken by the chaos around them. What is that single rare behavior? It is radical emotional containment, the complete, ironclad refusal to let external events, toxic people, or public chaos disrupt the internal peace of your soul. Most people are emotional mirrors. If someone smiles at them, they smile. If someone gets angry with them, they get angry back. If the market crashes, they panic. If plans change, they throw a tantrum. They have zero internal buffer. They are completely at the mercy of whatever weather happens to pass through their environment on any given morning. A rare human being is not a mirror. They are a mountain. The wind can howl against the stone. The rain can pour down the cliff, and the thunderstorm can crash overhead. but the mountain remains completely immovable, grounded miles deep into the core of the earth. To see how this rare behavior operates on the grandest stage of human history, look at an extraordinary, forgotten story from the life of the Roman Stoic statesman Porcius Cato. Cato was standing in the Roman Forum, addressing a massive crowd of citizens on a critical piece of legislation that threatened the power of corrupt politicians. A notorious violent political thug named Metellus, hired by Cato's enemies to publicly humiliate and silence him, marched up to the podium, surrounded by armed bodyguards. Metellus stood directly in front of Cato, leaned forward, and spat a thick wad of phlegm directly into Cato's face, in front of thousands of watching citizens. The entire forum fell dead silent. Thousands of citizens held their breath. Armed guards reached for their swords. Everyone expected Cato to explode with rage, order his supporters to attack Metellus, or run from the platform in deep humiliation. That was the standard script of Roman politics. Look at what Cato did instead. He didn't flinch. He didn't raise his hands in shock. His heart rate didn't spike, and his eyes didn't show a single trace of anger or embarrassment. Cato slowly pulled a plain linen cloth from his belt, wiped the spit from his cheek without breaking eye contact with Metellus, offered a small, polite smile, and said in a calm, steady, conversational tone, "I will testify to all Rome, Metellus, that you are mistaken when people claim you cannot use your mouth for anything useful." Cato then turned right back to the crowd and continued his speech from the exact sentence where he had been interrupted, as if a minor leaf had simply fallen from a tree. Metellus stood completely frozen on the podium, his face turning pale with absolute embarrassment. The man who had come to humiliate Cato realized that he had just made himself look like a wild, uncivilized animal in front of the entire republic, while elevating Cato's moral stature to that of an untouchable god. 40 years after Cato died, Roman citizens who had been present in the forum that afternoon were still telling their children and grandchildren about the day a man proved his soul was completely beyond the reach of human insult. When you display radical emotional containment, you perform an act of psychological magic that makes you permanently unforgettable to everyone who witnesses it. Why? Because human beings are deeply accustomed to seeing people break. They expect you to get flustered when insulted. They expect you to get desperate when ignored. They expect you to get arrogant when victorious. They expect you to complain when life gets difficult. When you refuse to break, when you maintain absolute, serene composure in moments where everyone else would fall apart, you shatter their understanding of human weakness. You become a living mystery to them. Long after loud, boisterous personalities have faded from their memory, they will lie awake at night thinking about the quiet individual who stood in the middle of the storm with an unshakable smile, completely undisturbed by the chaos that broke everyone else. This exposes the first law of psychological rarity. Your value is directly proportional to your internal stability in moments of external instability. Think about the people you remember most vividly from your own past. You don't remember the people who agreed with everything you said just to be liked. You don't remember the people who threw loud tantrums when things went wrong. You don't remember the people who constantly sought your approval. You remember the person who remained calm when everyone else was screaming. You remember the person who spoke the truth with quiet conviction when everyone else was lying to keep the peace. You remember the person who walked away from disrespect with supreme dignity without needing to yell, argue, or seek revenge. Consider the second law of emotional containment. A person who cannot be provoked is a person who cannot be controlled. Look at how the ancient Stoic teacher, Epictetus, analyzed human power dynamics in the streets of Rome. Epictetus was born a slave and suffered severe physical abuse at the hands of a cruel master who eventually broke Epictetus's leg, leaving him with a permanent limp for the rest of his life. Instead of letting that cruelty destroy his spirit or fill him with lifelong bitterness, Epictetus used his pain to unlock the ultimate truth of human freedom. He watched his wealthy Roman master spend his days in constant anxiety, pacing his marble halls, terrified of losing the emperor's favor, furious at his servants, and obsessed with what political rivals were whispering behind his back. Epictetus realized something profound. His master was wearing silk robes and holding gold coins, but his soul was in absolute bondage to every external event. Epictetus was wearing rags and limping on a broken leg, but his mind was completely free. Epictetus wrote words that became the bedrock of Stoic philosophy. Any person who has the power to make you angry becomes your master. They can only irritate you when you permit yourself to be disturbed by them. When you react to an insult, when you lose your temper over a small inconvenience, or when you let someone's cold behavior ruin your morning, you are voluntarily handing them the keys to your internal house. You are letting them decide whether you enjoy your day, whether your heart rate stays steady, and whether your mind remains clear. A rare human being keeps the keys in their own pocket. They treat external events and toxic people as temporary weather. If rain falls, they don't curse the cloud. They put on a cloak and continue walking their path. If someone attempts to insult them, they view the insult not as a reflection of their worth, but as a medical diagnosis of the insulter's broken soul. They refuse to trade their internal peace for anyone else's circus. When you operate from this level of deep emotional containment, the way people treat you shifts dramatically. You no longer need to demand respect because your very stillness enforces it. People instinctively feel that raising their voice, throwing a tantrum, or attempting to manipulate you will accomplish nothing except revealing their own lack of self-control. You become a psychological mirror that forces everyone in your presence to confront their own level of discipline and maturity. Those who lack virtue will feel uncomfortable around your peace, while those who possess character will feel deeply drawn to your unshakable strength. This fundamental shift in perspective is what separates those who drift through life at the mercy of circumstances from those who command their own destiny. When you realize that no person on earth has the power to disturb your soul without your explicit consent, you step into a realm of quiet invincibility. You stop reacting to the noise of the world and begin responding only from a place of clear, deliberate, and unshakable reason. Up to this point, we have unmasked the forgotten scholar of Alexandria, Porcius Cato's legendary composure in the Roman Forum, and Epictetus's profound realization on true human freedom. These master realizations reveal why radical emotional containment is the single most rare, powerful, and unforgettable behavior a human being can possess. When we continue into the second half of this script, we will step directly into the remaining principles of absolute self-sovereignty, principles that reveal how to cultivate this unshakable posture in your daily life, how to handle the ultimate tests of your boundaries, and the daily Stoic protocol that ensures your presence will leave a permanent mark on every soul you encounter. A solitary traveler walks through a thick, fog-covered mountain pass in ancient Anatolia. carrying a small iron lantern that casts a warm, steady glow against the sharp rocks. Heavy snow falls around him, the wind howls through the trees, and pack animals scatter in panic down the slope. Other travelers on the trail scream at the storm, curse the freezing mud, and huddle together in terrified, shivering groups. The quiet traveler carrying the iron lantern doesn't stop or hesitate for a single second. He doesn't raise his voice to curse the wind. He adjusts his heavy wool cloak, steps carefully over the icy stones, and keeps his eyes fixed on the path ahead. Hours later, when the storm dies down and the moon emerges over the peak, the shivering travelers, the survived, look back down the trail. They don't remember the freezing wind, the lost supplies, or the terrifying darkness of that night. They remember only the quiet, glowing light of the lantern and the steady, unhurried footsteps of the one man who walked through the blizzard as if it were a calm summer evening. This brings us directly to the third law of psychological rarity. True authority is never projected through force or volume. It is established through an absolute refusal to be shaken by external chaos. When you adopt this mindset, your daily relationship with hardship and conflict shifts completely. Instead of viewing difficult people, sudden disruptions, or unexpected setbacks as tragic interruptions to your peace, you begin to view them as the essential training ground for your character. You realize that a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor, and an easy life never forged a rare human being. Every insult becomes an opportunity to practice patience. Every crisis becomes a test of your internal composure. Every temptation to react with petty anger becomes a chance to exercise supreme self-mastery. This perspective transforms you from a passive victim of circumstances into an active architect of your own soul. You stop asking why life is presenting you with unexpected challenges and start asking how you can use those exact challenges to refine your moral virtue. When people observe an individual who welcomes difficulty with calm, smiling resolve, who turns every obstacle into fuel for their personal growth, their fascination reaches a deep level that time cannot erase. They realize that they are looking at someone who has broken free from the standard human pattern of fear and complaint. Look at how most human beings attempt to project strength when faced with conflict or uncertainty. They raise their voice, they posture aggressively, they make dramatic threats, interrupt others, and try to dominate the room through sheer noise and hostility. They believe that if they can make themselves look intimidating, the world will bow to their will. In reality, aggressive posturing is the ultimate admission of weakness. When you explode in anger, when you shout, or when you frantically try to force people to submit to your view, you are revealing a terrifying secret to everyone watching. You are losing control. Your loud emotional outburst is a desperate, panic-driven attempt to regain leverage because your internal foundation has collapsed. A truly rare human being understands that true strength is quiet, silent, and heavy. When someone raises their voice against you, when a crisis strikes your workplace, or when an unexpected disaster disrupts your plans, you do not match their noise. You lower your tone. You slow down your speech. You look them directly in the eye with complete, unblinking stillness. By lowering your volume while everyone else is screaming, you instantly become the gravitational center of the room. People are forced to quiet down just to hear what you are saying. Your calm posture acts like a cold bucket of water thrown onto a frantic flame. You demonstrate that while the storm may be raging outside, inside the citadel of your mind, absolute order reigns supreme. Consider the fourth law, of radical emotional containment. The ultimate test of your rarity occurs when you are offered cheap validation and you quietly choose to pass it up. Look at an extraordinary, forgotten encounter from the life of the great Stoic philosopher, Emperor Marcus Aurelius. During his military campaigns on the Danube frontier, a treacherous Roman governor named Avidius Cassius attempted a military coup. Cassius spread false rumors that Marcus Aurelius had died of sickness, declared himself emperor, and convinced several Roman legions to march on Rome to seize the throne. When the news reached Marcus Aurelius in his cold military tent, his generals drew their swords in fury, urging the emperor to immediately execute Cassius's family members living in Rome and launch a brutal revenge campaign to crush the rebels. Look at how the Stoic emperor responded to this treason. Marcus Aurelius called a meeting of his soldiers, sat down quietly, and spoke words that stunned the Roman world. He said, "I am only afraid of one thing, that Avidius Cassius will kill himself before I can reach him, or that someone else will murder him, and I will be deprived of the greatest victory a man can achieve, the chance to forgive a man who betrayed me, to remain a loyal friend to one who broke his faith, and to prove that virtue is stronger than treason." When Cassius was eventually assassinated by one of his own officers, the assassin brought Cassius's severed head to Marcus Aurelius, expecting a massive gold reward and public praise. Marcus Aurelius looked at the severed head with deep sadness, refused to touch the gold, and ordered the head to be buried with full military honors. He then issued an imperial decree pardoning all of Cassius's co-conspirators and protecting Cassius's children from any harm or loss of property. Marcus Aurelius refused the cheap, violent validation of revenge. He refused to let a traitor's evil choices turn him into a bitter tyrant. When you refrain from taking petty revenge, when you choose not to gossip about someone who betrayed you, when you refuse to brag about a victory or highlight someone else's mistake to make yourself look superior, you exhibit a level of character that modern society rarely witnesses. Most people cannot resist the temptation to gloat, mock, or strike back when they hold the upper hand. They trade their long-term moral authority for a 5-second hit of cheap ego satisfaction. When you pass up that cheap validation, when you handle betrayal with quiet, high-minded dignity, you leave an indelible mark on everyone who sees it. You prove that your self-worth is not derived from crushing others, but from governing yourself. Now, step into the fifth and ultimate law of psychological rarity. Your ultimate power lies in your capacity to remain entire within yourself, regardless of whether the world applauds or rejects you. Look at the ancient Stoic concept of the inner citadel. The Stoics taught that every human being possesses an unassailable fortress within their own reason. Within those walls, you hold complete sovereignty over your opinions, your desires, your integrity, and your emotional responses. The modern world spends all its energy trying to build external fortresses, accumulating followers, seeking social status, chasing wealth, and begging for public applause. But because external fortresses are built on shifting sand, a single cold wind, a single bad review, or a single act of rejection can blow them away in seconds. A rare human being builds inside. They realize that the applause of the crowd is as meaningless as the rustle of dry autumn leaves in the wind. Today the crowd cheers for you. Tomorrow they cheer for your rival. Today they praise your work. Tomorrow they forget your name. If you build your happiness on their approval, you are building a home on a foundation of fog. When you break free from the need for crowd applause, you experience a profound liberation that changes how you move through the world. You no longer enter conversations hoping to impress, nor do you leave interactions wondering if you were deemed acceptable. You walk with the quiet grace of a person who has settled their account with themselves. You express your truth without dilution, hold your principles without fear of disapproval, and treat both praise and criticism with the exact same calm, unbothered detachment. When you step into radical emotional containment, you stop asking the world for permission to feel valuable. You walk into every room as a complete human being. You offer your work, your kindness, your discipline, and your truth to the world as a gift, without demanding that the world hand you anything in return. If people appreciate your light, you accept their gratitude with quiet warmth. If people criticize, envy, or reject you, you look at them with calm understanding, knowing that their judgment cannot alter the reality of your soul. You become like the deep ocean water that remains entirely undisturbed by the waves crashing on the surface. This internal mastery is not something you acquire overnight. It is forged through 1,000 quiet daily choices where you choose reason over impulse, composure over reaction, and dignity over cheap emotional expression. Consider how rare this quality has become in our modern society. We live in an era where people document their every emotion online, where minor inconveniences are broadcast as major tragedies, and where emotional outbursts are celebrated as authenticity. In such a loud, undisciplined environment, a person who maintains total emotional containment stands out like a soaring tower in a flat landscape. They possess a magnetic quality that draws people in, not because they demand attention, but because their quiet strength offers a sense of safety and grounding in a chaotic world. When people are around you, they feel that no matter how severe the storm becomes, you will remain an unshakable anchor. When you commit to this path of radical self-mastery, you quickly realize that your detachment from external drama is not coldness or lack of care. On the contrary, it is the highest form of compassion and wisdom. Because you are not consumed by your own fragile ego or reactive emotions, you have the mental clarity to truly observe others, to understand their pain, and to offer them genuine support when they are falling apart. You become the steady hand that guides others through the dark, the voice of calm reason when fear takes over, and the living proof that an individual can remain completely dignified, calm, and invincible in any circumstance. This is why the ancient Stoics spent their entire lives refining this single posture toward existence. They recognized that the world outside will always remain unpredictable, volatile, and beyond our control. Kings will fall, markets will crash, friends will betray, and bodies will age. But the human mind, when properly trained and anchored in virtue, can remain an unyielding fortress of light, peace, and unshakable dignity through every trial. This is the singular behavior that makes you impossible to forget. When you walk through life with this level of internal alignment, you inspire everyone who crosses your path to rise to a higher standard of discipline and self-possession. It is not a performance. It is not a cheap psychological trick. It is the natural, radiant posture of a human being who has conquered the most difficult territory on earth, their own mind. When you master your internal world, you stop chasing influence, and influence begins to chase you. You stop asking for respect, and respect becomes your permanent shadow. The storm has cleared. The lantern burns bright. The path forward is completely open to you. If you are ready to build your internal fortress, master your emotional containment, and step into the unshakable power of a true Stoic mind, do not step back into the noise of the crowd. Subscribe right now to The Stoic Path for another similar content. Master your spirit, own your composure, and walk your unshakable path with absolute power and dignity today.